Okay, wanting to look at how to write an algebraic expression given some kind of picture of a rectangle at which they're asking you to find its area. So you should know to find the area of a rectangle, you always have to take the length multiplied by the width. But if you're looking at the length, it's written as an expression x plus 6, and its width is 4. So you could possibly put x plus 6, but it wouldn't be really appropriate just to say times 4. If you put just times 4, it's only going to multiply the 6 times the 4, and the whole length is not just 6, but it's x plus 6. So to fix that situation, you could write it as x plus 6 times 4. Now, multiplication is commutative, which meant I can rearrange this and put the 4 first, and then put the x plus 6 second. So these two would be what I would call equivalent expressions. I could also apply the distributive property that we learned earlier, at which you multiply the coefficient of those parentheses by each piece on the inside. So 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times a positive 6 is 24. So there are 3 ways that you can write this. Now, one thing I could look at is 4 and 24 is also divisible by 2. So what if I factored out or divided a 2 by both and put the 2 on the outside the parentheses and put what was left? So 4x divided by 2 would have left me 2 with an x, and 24 divided by 2 leaves me 12. So sometimes expressions may not look like they're related any at all, but when you go to look at the mathematics behind them, they may actually be all related and be equivalent. So when you're doing equivalent expressions, make sure you pay attention to, like, would I be able to simplify and create a different expression from what I got started with? For example, this one right here says write an expression for the perimeter of a rectangle. Well, perimeter means distance around. So you're pretending you're a person, you're walking this way, this, and going back to the start. So the perimeter is adding up all those pieces. So the first length you walked would have been x plus 3. Then you would have walked an x. Then you would have walked another x plus 3. And then you would have walked an x. So this would have given me the perimeter. So this could be an expression that I write for the perimeter of the rectangle, but it would look better if I simplified it. And to simplify it could be just as simple as adding the 3's together. 3 plus 3 gives me 6. Then adding how many x's I have. If you remember on the mathematical fairy tale story, addition was taken over by multiplication, and this is specifically repeated addition. So x plus x plus x plus x is the same thing as 4 times x. So this is an equivalent expression. So as before, I could maybe turn this into a distributive property. Maybe I divide both of them by 2. Now, dividing both of them by 2 doesn't mean I make the 2 disappear. I just end up pulling it out of the parentheses, or pulling it on the outside of the parentheses to see what's left. So 4x divided by 2 is 2x, and 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. So all 3 of these expressions all represent the perimeter of that rectangle. So when you're looking at the pieces, we looked at this and this and this, but what if on C it just says, think of a number, multiply it by 4, and then add 6. So when it says think of a number, I don't know what it is. So I'm going to call that x. Then multiply it by 4. So that means that's the next thing I'm going to do. And then add 6. So that's the last thing. So since they're wanting me to add after multiply, I don't have to use parentheses because they're wanting me to multiply and then add. If in a case they wanted you to add and then multiply, then I would have to go back and put in parentheses. So if you remember when I did uh, the perimeter, I could have added x plus 3 plus x plus 3 plus x. That ended up giving me 4x plus 6. So when it says which two expressions are equivalent, it was these two right here. Now, if they wanted me to find the area, I'd have to multiply length times width. And by doing the distributive property, I would have did 4 times x, which is 4x, and 4 times 6. You have to multiply it by both, and that gives me 24. So that's the expression that does not match. So on this MFAL that I'm asking you to do, they're going to be giving you a set of cards that show you steps, not all the steps to solve an equation, but part of them, then a set of equations, and then a set of stories. So what I'm wanting you to do on this MFAL, read the stories with a partner or in groups of 3 or more, and decide what story matches with what equation, and then fill in the steps. These will not be all the steps, but I would like to see when you glue it on a poster, I would put the story, underneath it the equation, and then the steps that you have to solve. So if there are any steps that's missing, just write them in between the steps that they give you. So put this on a poster and have it story, equation, and all the steps until you get to the final answer. And these are some of the final answers that you have. But these are not all the steps that you will need. Those are just steps to get you started. So good luck on this one.